Hi, this is Mr. Roboto, and this is our RoboAuction installment of our 2014 Fantasy Football Draft Series. When you get to the home page, you can see the RoboAuction link. Just click on that, and it'll tell you a little bit about RoboAuction, but you want to start it up, and it takes you right to your budget screen. This particular league has a $100 budget, so that's right there, and I'm just going to click Next Step. And here comes the player values. You can look through the player values and adjust them. Look for things that maybe you disagree with. So, for example, if I look through this list, I see, all right, they're sorted from best to worst, going down. Let me zoom in on that for you. So, Peyton Manning's the RoboAuction thinks Peyton Manning is the best quarterback, that he'll return the highest index value, and then down the list here. And so what do I see here? Well, the index value goes down smoothly, but the pay doesn't. So Peyton's got the highest pay, Drew Brees got the second highest, and then it goes down, and then all of a sudden I see, well, here's Aaron Rodgers. He's not. There are quarterbacks who are cheaper who are going to return more. And so those are the sorts of things that RoboAuction targets. These people are values. They're sleepers. Nick Foles is a sleeper this year. You can get him for $12 out of your $100 budget. And look on down the list, and there are other $5 for Andy Dalton, and so on. And so you can take a look at quarterbacks, running backs. If you look through the list, looks like Ryan Matthews and Reggie Bush are bargains here. Wide receiver. And you can change these, as I said. Marquise Lee, #1 wide receiver in Jacksonville at the moment. If he's able to hold on to it, he could be a huge sleeper. That's a big if. So if you disagree with that, you can just change his index value to something else and go down and adjust Cecil Shorts to make him the #1 wide receiver in Jacksonville. Julian Edelman, really big bargain. Tight ends, Jimmy Graham. You can look over here, the index value, it's 286. It's a huge teardrop between Jimmy Graham and the rest of the league. So basically, for tight ends this year, it's Jimmy Graham or the other guys. And then you can likewise look at place kickers and defenses. And once you've done all your adjustments, you click the next step. And I encourage you to do this before your auction draft, like the night before, or just so you can plan your strategy out. Now, the values change day to day, so you'll have to go in and make adjustments. So, because RoboAuction is going to update the values of the players, and it won't, but your changes will persist for that day. But in the wee hours in the morning, RoboAuction will come in and change them based upon changes that may have happened that day in depth chart, injuries, etc., etc. So here's the optimal team list per price point. So what that means is, for $86, I can buy the highest team. That's great, and it's going to return a scoring index of 2274, which was that's just the sum total of what these players will return. This is a typical league: 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers. It is a PPR league, and I think that's pretty common these days. So, and it's performance, so you get rewards for the length of a score, etc. And so now you can see those bargains that RoboAuction was targeting right here in Edelman, Marquise Lee, Matthews was another bargain it was going to go after. Nick Foles, he was a bargain. And RoboAuction has decided it's worth the money to spend on Jamal Charles. So RoboAuction will spend the money some places, and when of course that takes up a big chunk of your budget, so you got to save in other areas. So you got to go for those sleepers in other spots. And so once you get this the way you want it, you can go back a step and edit the players' values here. If you didn't like the way the optimal team was, you might come in and say, I kind of think Nick Foles not so good. Or maybe I'll just adjust that down to say 290, and I submit. And then you can go back, or you can return to editing the players' values. It's up to you. So now you can see Nick Foles is down here at 290. Go to the next step. He may or may not be in the optimal team anymore. Where am I looking here? Okay, so now it's targeting Matt Ryan. So you get it the way you want it. So there's the optimal team right now. With that adjustment, I got Matt Ryan instead of Nick Foles. Now here's the best part. When it's time for your live auction draft, this is going to help you. You just come in there. Let's say somebody throws up, run it. He wants. Let's put Jamal Charles out there and see what happens. So they come in and they say, okay, well, I got to find Jamal Charles now. Where'd he go? If only I could find him. Charles. If only I knew how to alphabet. There he is. So now he's on the block, and it's gonna RoboAuction is gonna take a long look at this, and he's gonna decide what are the parameters, what's the highest you're gonna go for Jamal Charles. So he's thinking. The longer he thinks, the more he wants him. Yeah, Jamal Charles. He's willing to go up to $50. That's half your budget to get Jamal. And he says, so his current price is $34, but you can go as high as $50 for Jamal Charles, and RoboAuction still thinks, even if you go that high, you can put together an awesome team. So let's just say I bought him. And I got him probably not for 34. I probably would have to go a little higher than that. Let's say I got him for 38. That's going to change what my optimal team is now, because I spent a little more than he was listed at. So there he is. He's on my starting squad. And now I'm curious as to what my starting optimal team is. So I can click on this and go back and take a look. And there is Jamal Charles, and he's part of my optimal team. It's going to cost me $92 now to get this optimal team. Looks pretty much like it was before. I think maybe Phil Dawson wasn't here before. But these are the players RoboAuction thinks he can put together based upon what budget you have left. So you can go back and resume your draft. Next step. Okay. Now there's a little live auction draft. So there's a little hint here. You can put the overpriced players on the block first. So a lot of times in auction drafts, the players are the bidders are allowed to put the players on the auction, and if it's your turn to put a player on the auction block, or you might encourage the guy next to you to put these overpriced players on the auction block. And so you get the overpriced players out there, and then the other guys, the other bidders, start spending all their money on these players which RoboAuction thinks are overpriced. They waste all their budget, and that leaves the fairly priced and sleeper picks available for you to scoop up. So it's a long list. Sometimes some of the players that RoboAuction is targeting is in this list. Now, does that mean that they're overpriced? Not necessarily. I mean, they may be in this list, but supply and demand must be such, will be such that you had to get Jamal Charles. Yeah, he goes for top dollar, and he's on the overpriced list, but RoboAuction is still going to pick him up because you got to have two running backs, and you got to pay for running backs, and RoboAuction understands that. So like I said before, sometimes he'll pay top dollar for a player because it's worth it. But the ones that you get these players out there so that you can reduce the budgets that the other bidders have. So that's pretty much it. You've gone through the whole RoboAuction system, and you just repeat this over and over again until you get your whole starting squad, and then you can say you want to evaluate a player as a backup, and then you can fill up your backup squad. And this has been Mr. Roboto. Please like this presentation, and thank you very much.